We need to stop making kids famous. Don't forget to join the Discord. The link is in the description below. Children have been in media for a very long time. And because of that, we've really been able to see a lot of kids grow in real time. And see, that right there is the problem, because not gonna lie, why have we seen a lot of these kids grow up in real time? And why is it that a lot of these kids end up being messed up and crazy?
What's up with Nick?
If you compare your career to somebody, who would it be?
Michael Jackson. That's me?
Never.
You're a liar.
What?
Being on screen is possibly one of the most difficult situations you could ever go through. Not only is your face going to be displayed to thousands of people on screen, but on top of that, if you mess up once, that's how everyone's going to see you for the rest of your life. And we've seen all these negative effects on adults that we've been watching on our screens for many years. And I'm not just talking about movies either, I'm talking about media as a whole. From social media to even music, we've seen the negative effects of being on screens 24/7. A lot of these folks nowadays have to deal with the fact that they got to constantly stay in character. A lot of these people on screens typically don't know how to be themselves and struggle to find themselves. And now see, even though this on-screen lifestyle is already hard as hell to live, I don't know why we'd want to push it onto children. In my personal opinion, we need to stop making kids famous, real talk. See, we've seen kids in almost every form of media. Like real talk, they're in movies, music, TV shows, and even online with social media. And y'all know for a fact that I've had my fair share in having opinions on how kids are treated in media. But not gonna lie, today I'm coming with a crazy opinion, cause real talk, I personally believe that kids should not be famous anymore. Like deadass, in this time period right now, I don't know why we keep trying to make kids famous, because we know the effects of this stuff. Like if you've been hiding under a rock, I can completely understand why you'd feel shocked to this statement. But real talk, for all of us who have been paying attention, we've all seen the negative effects of fame and what it can do to people, especially adults. And not gonna lie, I don't know why we'd want to do that to children. And what blows my mind the most is not only the fact that adults are getting exploited in these industries, but children are getting extremely exploited and we're not hearing nothing about it. There's no way in hell we should be allowing kids to be in these environments. We need to let them be kids. Like, we gotta be honest here, bruh. How many red flags do we have to see until we stop putting kids in these environments? We've already seen how predatory these executives get around children. It's crazy how a lot of weirdos and strange people are in these environments alone. And not gonna lie, these are the people that we see on TV, music, and media all the time. Like real talk, we've already seen some crazy things with Diddy and Harvey Weinstein alone. And these are probably some of the biggest figureheads in their industries ever. So now with all these warning signs and these negative people around, I don't know why we still keep trying to push kids into these environments. Like real talk, children do not need to be in these environments. It's already hard enough for adults to be in these spaces. Might as well children. In this day and age, the price of fame is so high. Not only do you have a reduced privacy, but not gonna lie, you can't walk around in public society normally anymore. And I understand in this day and age, a lot of folks aren't really as crazy as they are for famous people anymore. But at the same time, it's still that small factor of people that ruin the situation for literally everyone. It's these weird parasocial relationships that folks tend to generate through connections off a screen.
Where one person expends emotional energy, interest, and time, and the other party, the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. Parasocial relationships are most common with celebrities, organizations such as sports teams, or television stars.
And that's where my personal problem starts, because how is it that you somehow created a relationship with someone you don't even know? You hands down have never even spoken to, bro. And if IMDb didn't exist, you probably even wouldn't know their middle name. And see, this is some shit that grown famous people actually deal with. They barely have enough privacy, and I can't lie, at the end of the day, they know for a fact that wherever they go, there's at least 2 to 3 people who know them. And when I use the word know, I'm really talking about it very loosely. And at the end of the day, this is really just the price of fame, but this is something that we don't want to have for children. You don't want children having no privacy, and I'm gonna be so honest, you don't want there to be a chance for a child to have a stalker in general. The price of fame for children weighs so heavily to the point that it's a negative on their end.
I don't really like the pursuit of it.
We've already seen some of the most negative effects of when it comes down to these stars. A lot of people who were child stars back in the day are now coming out talking about having many stalkers and even dealing with child predators who were either working with them or were outside of the industry. And let's not forget that in the industry, a lot of kids aren't surrounded by kids. They're really surrounded by mad adults. And that's not saying that all these adults in these industries are weirdos or strange, but let's be so real. We should not be having kids surrounded by adults. It just doesn't make any sense. There's a reason why we have a kids table and an adults table, because the topics that are going on with these adults are not things that kids should be hearing whatsoever. That's where we get into situations where we get folks like Jaden Smith who never really got to embrace their childhood, and we either start seeing them acting out or they start saying bullshit like
on age. And I look and I go around sometimes and I hang out with other people that are my age, and they're just kind of just my phone selfie. I'm just like, dude, like, oh my god, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
Like, dude, what the fuck do you know about the political and economic state of the world for you to be having it as a conversation when you're a teenager, my nigga? And let's run it back to the predators as well too, because not gonna lie, I'm not just talking about guys like P. Diddy or Harvey Weinstein. I'm also talking about the folks who be sniping as well too, to even professional sports as well too, because there's folks out there who really be sniping from high school. These folks are really itching for they bag, bruh. It's weird as hell to see. And this is really only just one aspect of the child exploitation that occurs in these industries. It's kind of crazy because a lot of the children that come out of these environments come out so scarred. Like, we've already seen examples of guys like Macaulay Culkin and Michael Jackson. Real talk, these kids literally never actually had a proper childhood. And it's kind of crazy how the fact that they didn't have a childhood isn't even the craziest thing about their lives. These are literal children forced to be in adult spaces and have to act accordingly. And I don't know what it is with these industries, but there's no way for children to even develop as people or individuals in these spaces alone. And on top of that, they're not even allowed to even interact with any other kids their age or even go to school. And let's not even forget the fact that these adults are preying on these kids too. If you want more information, do your homework on Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson. That song really isn't just a diss track on Diana Ross. And if you know about MJ, you know about how their relationship went and how it started. And I'm gonna be even more specific with the people that I'm calling out, because the music industry and the TV and media industry alone are some of the most evil and rotten to the core spaces of all time. Like, we already know about Diddy and his Frosted Flakes with Usher.
I mean, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world.
End the show now.
Disney is possibly one of the most noticeable companies to ever exist. They quite literally got all the childhood TV shows, toys, and movies. And on top of that, Disney Channel itself has possibly one of the greatest catalogs of shows to ever exist. A lot of folks in this generation and before us quite literally grew up on Disney as well. But in my personal opinion, I've been starting to get a weird vibe from Disney as a whole, especially with how they be treating all their child actors. It's such a weird situation. I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like almost every single child actor that comes out of the Disney factory either has some weird ass stories working with some Disney producers, or they're extremely silent until something bad or relatable happens. Now, I'm not speaking for these people like I know them. I've never met a single Disney actor in my life, and I'm not saying every single one of them have had a bad experience with Disney either. And I'm most definitely not saying that Disney is the only company that has some weirdos in it as well too. Let's not forget that Nickelodeon has some seriously high-ranking weirdos in their ranks.
I apologize to anybody that I ever put in that.
I'm just using Disney as the main example because there's too many kids who've been through the Disney machine. And one of the craziest parts about it is the fact that if you're a person who grew up in the 2000s to even the 2010s, the folks that we were growing up watching on screen right now are full-blown adults right now. And one thing that's getting to me is the fact that almost every single one of them are coming out with some wild-ass story. And if it's not stories, these folks are just making some of the dumbest and worst decisions in their lives. Like, real talk, we've seen the Miley Cyruses, the Sky Jacksons, and even the Orlando Browns. And these are only 3 examples of severely messed up groups of kids. And I can't even lie, one of the craziest parts about it is that not too many of these kids bounce back from any of the things that they go through. A lot of them end up going through spirals of drug abuse and depression throughout their adult lives. And the worst part about it is the fact that a lot of this stuff is seen in the public. They don't have that aspect of privacy that every other normal person has. Imagine not even having the capability to go to the store on your own without someone bugging you. You got cameras in your face 24/7. No matter what you do, someone could write a hit piece about you any time of the day in any period whatsoever. And on top of that, you can't even have kids in peace at this point. A lot of these kids don't even get the chance to enjoy life because there's so much noise around them. We should not be able to know the inner workings of other people's lives. But that's the thing, that's one of the problems with being famous. And I can't even lie, I don't know why we'd want to put this type of lifestyle onto children. It's kind of crazy because Miley Cyrus really had to start wilding out just so people people could get out of her business. Like, we can't all act like we didn't remember her black phase. And when I use the term black phase, I'm not really using it in any type of way disrespectful to anybody. The best example is like when Justin Bieber got dreads. I don't know what it is and I don't know who started it, but it feels like whenever a famous white person goes through a bunch of different traumas and different problems, they either go to drugs or they go to drugs and black people. And from my personal opinion and my perspective alone, I feel like once they go through the drugs and black people phase, they dead ass come back better people. Like Miley Cyrus now makes some fire ass music. Same goes for Justin Bieber as well too. This might be a stretch, but black people are really some healers, bro. Real talk. Like, we be healing the communities for real. I really be praying for all of these young folks that have to go through all of these situations though. Cause realistically speaking, they don't really have a voice in these places. Unless they got parents and guardians who don't just care about the money, I don't think anything can be done for real. I could never understand the logic of putting a child in a space filled with adults and expecting them to grow like a proper child. It's kind of crazy because at the end of the day, these spaces crush children. And if you were a kid who wasn't down with any of the weird things that they were trying to make you do, at the end of the day, you just get chewed up and spat out by the machine. Crazy enough, you'll be left like a guy like Orlando Brown.
I told you in the first interview, I mean, she gave me, and then I gave her some,
Cause real talk, at the end of the day, whether what he's saying is true or not, this man is most definitely a shell of his younger self. And I don't know if it's just me, but bro really talks cryptically and you just don't know if he's speaking the truth or if he's just making up stories with a crazed mind. Realistically speaking though, this should just be a sign because at the end of the day, we just don't have any control in anything that really happens in these spaces for real. Kids are always gonna be in movies, kids are always gonna be making music, and because of social media, kids can literally become famous from doing literally anything. We really just need to find a way so that these kids are protected and away from any of this weird predatory behavior. And I'm not even just talking about corporate executives, I'm talking about people in comment sections as well too, because that shit is strange. Now, real talk, my final question is, where the fuck are the parents? I don't know what it is, but for some reason, when it comes to famous children, I feel like their parents see their kids as like a cash out or something. It looks like they come into their kids for some type of withdrawal every week. This is something that really grinds my gears, and I can't even lie, it genuinely makes me upset to even talk about it. Because with all these famous children going out of their way and doing their passion and expressing themselves in an artistic manner, they either got some money-hungry parents getting ready for their next paycheck, or they got some stupid-ass, bitch-ass parents who don't care about the well-being of their children. And we've seen these types of stories for so many years. All these kids going out of their way, working day in, day out, acting, singing, and even doing some crazy entertaining stuff, just for some abusive people to come into their lives and start fucking shit up. And then when they turn to their parents for help, their parents is looking for the next paycheck. This type of stuff is just genuinely disgusting to even think about. We've seen so many situations where a lot of these actors and these musicians go out of their way and start disowning their own family members because of how bad they are. Imagine your whole family starts becoming extremely predatory because you have money now. And on top of that, we gotta really talk about these influencers and their kids as well too. I'm not gonna speak ill on the way people be raising their kids, especially nowadays, but to those influencer families, and I'm talking specifically about the ones that make content centered around their children, y'all motherfuckers is weird. Let those kids live their lives peacefully and privately away from your bullshit. To the Lil RTs and woo-wops of the world, I don't want to disrespect them individually or any type of way, or even your families, but real talk, we already know what fame does to adults. Why are we trying to put this onto kids? We need to stop making kids famous. God bless y'all and have a nice day.